All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at the final chapters of David Goggins' incredible story. We are talking about a total transition here, going from brutal physical conditioning to absolute unwavering mental mastery. Today we're breaking down the evolution of a mindset that literally just refuses to quit. Don't stop when you are tired. Stop when you are done. Man, that single instruction really sets the intense tone for everything we're going to explore today. This isn't about some fleeting pump-up motivation. It's about building a relentless drive that completely disregards the whole concept of fatigue. So here is our roadmap. We'll be hitting 5 key principles: being uncommon amongst the uncommon, the empowerment of failure, the after-action report, the what-if mentality, and finally, the realization that there is no finish line. Let's get to it. Part 1. Uncommon amongst the uncommon, elevating the standard. So, picture this. Goggins finds himself deployed to the incredibly thick, sweltering jungles of Malaysia. And get this, as the oldest guy in his platoon, he gets stuck carrying the M60 machine gun. They literally called this 20-pound beast the Pig. And that's not even counting the heavy belts of ammo he had to lug around. But here's the kicker. He didn't just want to survive the jungle. He wanted to be the standard bearer in a unit that was already considered elite. He was just constantly hunting for that next crucible. In fact, Goggins is the only member of the armed forces to complete Navy SEAL BUDS training, Army Ranger School, and Air Force Tactical Air Control Party training. I mean, wow. It was just a relentless stacking of military qualifications to test his absolute limits. You see, it's incredibly easy to be a big fish in a small pond, right? To stand out among regular everyday folks. But Goggins realized that true mastery requires striving to be a wolf surrounded by other wolves. It demands the singular, almost obsessive focus to be the absolute best among the highest achievers in the world. Moving on to Part 2, the empowerment of failure. Failing forward. 2,500. That is the staggering number of pull-ups he hit before his body just completely shut down during his first Guinness World Record attempt. His muscles literally tore, his forearms locked up tight, and physically, he was entirely broken. And this wasn't some quiet defeat in the back of an empty gym. No way. He failed in front of millions of people on national television on The Today Show. But, and here's the crucial part, instead of hiding away in shame, he took this massive, completely humiliating public vulnerability and used it to forge an unshakable mindset. Which brings us to Part 3, the after-action report, stripping emotion from defeat. Okay, so in the military, an after-action report, or an AAR, is a tool used to clinically autopsy a mission. You don't sit around feeling sorry for yourself, you just look objectively at the cold, hard data. Goggins applied this exact military strategy to his pull-up failure, completely redefining defeat as necessary data for his next attempt. This actually gives you a highly actionable framework for your own setbacks. Check this out. First, you strip away all the emotion. Second, logically analyze the failure. Ask yourself, did you train wrong? Was your equipment flawed? Third, fix that specific weakness. And finally, execute again. By doing exactly this, Goggins returned and eventually absolutely crushed the pull-up world record. All right, Part 4, the what-if mentality, overcoming the impossible. Right at the peak of his physical achievements, doctors made a really jarring discovery. They found a massive hole in his heart. He was immediately rushed in for major heart surgery, suddenly realizing he had been unknowingly operating with a severe congenital defect through all of his most extreme, grueling training. So lying there in a hospital bed, forced to finally pause, he asked himself, what if? What if I accomplished the impossible while my body was fundamentally compromised? The realization that he had endured Hell Week, Ranger School, and those crazy ultramarathons with a heart functioning at just a fraction of its capacity, well, it proved to him the overwhelming power of the mind over physical limits. And that leads us to our final section, Part 5, No Finish Line, the Infinite Game. In November of 2015, he retired from the Navy after a legendary career. But instead of just resting on his laurels and taking it easy, he immediately threw himself right back at the bottom of the ladder. By 2016, he became a wildland firefighter in Montana. And it wasn't just a physical test. It was a gritty, life-and-death reality, which became painfully clear when he had to grapple with the tragic loss of his colleague, Kayla Irving. The stark realization here is that true peace, it doesn't come from external achievements or medals or fancy titles. If you are truly playing the game of mastering your own mind and expanding your potential, you can never be fully satisfied. For guys like Goggins, there simply is no finish line. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to remember Goggins' core belief that most of us only ever tap into about 40% of our true capabilities. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. What if you stop letting your self-imposed limits dictate your reality? Really think about it. Exactly how much of your